$170 a month. In one state, that is the entire cash welfare check for a mother and 2 kids. Drive across a state line, and that same family can draw over $1,000. Same program, same federal law. Your zip code writes the number. This is TANF, the main cash assistance program for families in this country, and it's stranger than most people think. Before we're done, I'll show you the 5-year clock buried inside it that once it runs out, you can never wind back.
Look at what that check is actually for, though. Kim here. TANF is monthly cash a low-income family with a child can spend on rent, food, diapers, the light bill, whatever the month demands. No voucher, no store card, cash.
Almost, but it's bigger than a check. Leo here, and I'd put real money on this being the part that trips you up. Think of TANF as 50 forks of the same open source idea. Washington hands each state a block of money and a rulebook, and every state ships its own version. California calls it CalWorks. Florida calls it temporary cash assistance. Same federal engine, 50 different builds, wildly different results.
Lewis here. Think of it like a franchise. Head office sets the brand. Every location runs its own kitchen.
Here's who actually runs it. On the federal side, it's the Office of Family Assistance, inside Health and Human Services. They set the outer limits and send the money to the states. But the office you'll ever actually walk into is your state's, and the cash is only the front door. The same TANF dollars can pay for childcare so a parent can work, a bus pass or gas to get there, job training, and in a lot of states a one-time emergency payment when a family hits a wall.
One nuance the rulebook is loud about. You don't even need the child to be born yet. A pregnant woman can qualify on her own, and a grandparent or an aunt raising a relative's kids counts as the family too.
One catch though, that money was never built to last.
Right, the clock, Lewis. We'll get to the 5-year limit in a bit. For now, hold on to this. The cash is real, it's monthly, and it's yours to spend on what the month needs.
Here's the one the comments ask most, so let me put it up and answer it straight. If I work part-time, do I earn too much to get TANF? Fair question, and the answer surprises people. Not necessarily. Most states let you work and still draw a reduced check because the income limits sit low, but a parent whose hours just got cut often lands right under them. You don't have to be earning zero to walk in the door.
But don't let the word reduce scare you off. A smaller check is still a check.
Fair, a smaller check is still a check. So the cash is real. The catch is who gets it and how your state does the math. And there's a 5-year clock waiting inside all of this that you can never reset. But first, the gate that stops people cold. Do you even qualify? Five gates stand between a family and a TANF check. Miss one, the answer is no. Clear all 5, the money is yours. Leo, start us at gate 1.
Wrong order kills more applications than any single rule, honestly. Gate 1 is the whole reason the program exists. There has to be a kid. A dependent child under 18 in the home, or a woman who's pregnant. No child in the picture, no TANF. This is cash for families, full stop.
Take gate 2, the money test, because this is where people talk themselves out of it. Your income has to sit under your state's limit, and those limits are low, usually well under the poverty line.
Low, but a moving target. The month your hours drop is the month you might clear it.
Gate 3 is residency, and it's the simplest. You apply in the state where you actually live. Gate 4, you agree to the work rules, and Gate 5, you're a citizen or a qualified immigrant. That's the maze. This is exactly the part where one wrong assumption sends people home, so I called in Rosa Delgado, who knows these state rules cold. Rosa, jump in.
The mistake I watch families make over and over is disqualifying themselves before the state ever gets a vote. They hear welfare, they picture zero income and zero savings, and they never apply. The form is far more forgiving than the fear. Put the 5 gates on the board because seeing them beats hearing them. A child or a pregnancy, income under the line, state residency, the work rules, a qualifying status. Every yes lights the next box, and even a firm no can hide an exception a caseworker will catch.
Question on Gate 1, Rosa. If a grandmother is raising 2 grandkids on her own retirement, is she over income because of her check, or do they look at the kids?
Good instinct, and this is the part people get wrong. In a lot of states, a relative can apply as a child-only case where they count the kid's income, not the caretaker's. So a grandmother whose pension is too high for her can still get a check for the children she's raising.
And the same logic frees a working parent, which is where I'd push on the biggest myth in this whole.
Hold on, a working parent isn't locked out?
Not at all. The state manual counts the money that hits the household this month, and after a layoff or a cut to part-time, that number gets small fast. Working and getting TANF is not a contradiction. It's the common case.
Okay, that genuinely changes how I'd have answered this. I'll own that.
And that's the whole reason to apply instead of guessing. The 5 gates are real, but the exceptions live inside them, and only the caseworker reading your actual file can see all of them.
So don't self-reject at the door. If there's a child and the income is tight, you clear the 2 gates that matter most. Rosa, thank you. Next, the question everyone's really here for. How much does the check actually pay and the clock that comes with it? Before we keep going, one small favor that actually moves the needle. If this is landing for you, tap like, then subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss the rest. 2 taps, completely free, and it pushes this in front of more people who need it.
Careful with that word amount. It hides the whole trick. Nobody in Washington sets your check. Your state does, and the spread is enormous. And enormous is not an exaggeration. For a family of 3, the maximum monthly check runs from around $170 in the lowest states to over $1,000 in the highest. Same size family, same federal law, and the number can be 6 times bigger one state over. In every single state, though, that maximum still lands below the poverty line. Even the generous end is not generous.
Run the mechanics of how a state reaches a number because it isn't random. Most states start with a base grant for the household, then add a set amount for each child. Let me build a pretend one so you can see the shape.
Made up numbers, real structure. Start a fictional state at a base grant of $300 for the household.
Add the first child and this pretend state puts another $120 on top. Add a second child, another $100. Notice the increment shrinks as the family grows, which trips people up every time.
So our pretend family lands at $520 a month. But burn that number into nothing because your state's grid is different in every cell. The lesson is the shape, not the total.
Now the clock. This is the part the brochure whispers. Federal money pays for a family with an adult on it for 48 months. No, 60 months. 5 years. Over your whole life. Not 5 years in a row, 60 months total, and every month you draw burns one you never get back.
Picture the counter, because the number matters more than any sentence about it. Say a family has drawn benefits, on and off, for 2 years. That's 24 months gone, 36 left, for life.
Rules aren't uniform here either. Some states cut the clock shorter than 60, and states can extend past it for up to 1/5 of families facing real hardship. Where the federal money runs out, a few states keep paying with their own funds. So the 60 is a ceiling, not a promise, and your state can move it in either direction.
Kim, you've had a question climbing since the clock came up. Go ahead.
I do. Does the 5-year clock burn down even in the months the check is tiny?
It does. A month is a month. $12 or $500, the clock counts it the same.
Which is the real argument for treating the check like a bridge, not a hammock. Use the months when you truly need them. And the work rules point the same way. Single parents are generally expected to be in work activities about 30 hours a week, 2-parent families about 35, or the check can be cut.
So the money is modest, the clock is real, and the work rules are the price of admission. That's the honest picture. Coming up next, the good news nobody leads with, and Leo, this is your favorite part. TANF almost never comes alone. Here's the move that changes the whole math. Almost nobody who qualifies for TANF qualifies for TANF alone. The cache is one door in a hallway of them, and one form usually opens several at once.
This is my favorite part, so let me show you how the plumbing works. When you sit down for TANF, most states run that same application through the checks for food help and health coverage in the same sitting. One form, 3 answers.
Name the doors so nobody blurs them. TANF is the cash. SNAP is the food benefit, the card at the grocery store. Medicaid is the health coverage. 3 separate programs, 3 separate agencies behind the curtain, 1 shared front counter.
And the fear that stops people is backwards.
Completely backwards. People think taking one benefit cancels another. It doesn't. They're separate programs, so a TANF check does not shrink your SNAP food or knock you off Medicaid. You stack them, all 3, at once.
And if there's a pregnancy or a child under 5 in the house, there's a 4th door most people forget. WIC, food help aimed at mothers and young kids, sits right on top of the other 3.
Here's the one that genuinely shocks people though. The child care assistance TANF can unlock is sometimes worth more per month than the cash check itself. A parent can't take the job that ends the whole cycle if daycare eats the paycheck. That subsidy is the thing that actually gets someone back to work.
So where does a family actually go to open all these doors? Not 50 different websites. Your state's benefits page, and the federal site will route you straight to it.
Start at the government's own welfare page, and there's exactly one button that matters. It reads, Find your local TANF office. Click it, pick your state, and it hands you your state's real application, the one form that starts all of this.
One agency behind all of it too. Federal money, state kitchens.
So the real answer to how much is TANF worth is never just the check. It's the check, plus food, plus coverage, plus maybe daycare and WIC. The stack is the story.
One form, several doors, and the biggest mistake is walking in asking for only one of them. Which brings us to the part people dread, actually applying. Kim Lewis, you two walk a real family through it, step by step. Let's make this concrete. Picture Dana, 29, 2 kids, hours just cut from full-time to 2 shifts a week. She's decided to apply. Kim, Lewis, walk her through the actual day. What does she bring and where does she start?
She starts before she leaves the house with the paperwork. Photo ID for herself, the kids' birth certificates or social security cards, proof she lives in the state, a lease or a utility bill, and her last few pay stubs so the state can see the hours dropped.
The pay stubs are the whole case. They prove the drop.
Then she applies, and there are 3 ways in: online through the state benefits portal, over the phone, or in person at the county human services office. Same application, her pick.
And this is the moment to remember the last scene. When the form asks whether she also wants food help and health coverage, the answer is yes, screen me for everything. That one checkbox is the difference between 1 door and 3.
Then comes the part nobody warns her about, the bureaucracy asking for the bureaucracy.
Meaning?
She brings her ID, her lease, her kids' certificates, her pay stubs, and then a form asking her to prove she filed the form.
Welcome to the paperwork. Bring 2 copies of everything and a pen that works.
Dry, but he's not wrong. After the application, there's usually an interview, sometimes an office visit, and she'll agree to the work rules we covered. Meet those, and the first payment lands on a card the state mails her.
One honest caution before we wrap.
Go ahead, it's the fair one.
The day her first federal TANF month posts, her 5-year clock starts. So the smart play is to lean on the food help and the health coverage, which have no lifetime limit, and treat the cash as the bridge for the months she truly can't cover.
That's the whole playbook in one breath. Gather the documents, apply once, say yes to everything you're screened for, meet the work rules, and spend the 5-year cash carefully. Dana doesn't need to know the statute. She needs to know she's owed a look, and the worst outcome of applying is a no she was going to get anyway, so she applies. The whole thing fits on an index card. TANF is monthly cash for a family with a child. Your state sets the amount and it's modest. The federal clock runs 5 years for life, and you almost always qualify for food and health coverage in the same breath.
And the one line that beats every rule, don't self-reject. The form checks this month, not your best month, and the exceptions live where the fear tells you not to look. My favorite catch today was the child-only case, the grandmother who's over income for herself but not for the kids.
For me, it's the stack. Nobody walks out with just the cash. It's the check, plus SNAP, plus Medicaid, plus maybe the childcare that actually gets a parent back to work. Ask for all of it.
And spend the clock like it's yours, because it is. 60 months, once, for life.
And make it personal. If there's a child in your house and this month is tight, you walk in and say, "Screen me for everything," and you could leave with cash, food, and coverage before the month even turns. Send this to any parent whose hours just got cut.
If this turned a scary word into a checklist, subscribe. We're building the whole U.S. benefits playbook, one program at a time, and next we open the child care assistance that can quietly outweigh the cash itself. And hit like, so it reaches the next family who needs it. And here's the one we couldn't settle for you. Should the 5-year clock pause in the months a family is working and only drawing a tiny check? Or does a month always count as a month? Tell us where you land in the comments. Now take what you learned and go make it count. This is Professor Erica signing off.